Iran boycotts World Cup draw after U.S. visa denial. The global football community was shaken when Iran announced that it would boycott the FIFA World Cup draw, citing the United States' refusal to issue visas to Iranian representatives as the direct reason. The controversy immediately caught international attention because it sits at the intersection of politics, sports diplomacy, and the fundamental question of whether global events can ever truly remain separate from geopolitical tensions. For a global audience, and especially for readers who closely follow international sports news, this incident represents more than simply a disagreement over paperwork. It symbolizes the persistent challenge of safeguarding fairness in a world where political tensions often spill into arenas where they do not belong. The story gained massive traction because it was not merely about a football team missing an event. It was about representation, equality, and the very real impact of foreign policy decisions on the sporting world. Iran stated that its officials applied for visas as required, but were denied without what they considered a satisfactory explanation. This led to growing frustration within Iranian sporting circles, many of whom argued that attending the World Cup draw is not optional, but an essential part of the process. In FIFA tournaments, the draw ceremony is a major global spectacle where participating nations are assigned opponents. Coaches, analysts, and team officials rely on the ceremony not only for information, but also for networking, collaboration, and logistical planning. Iran argued that being barred from attending placed them at a significant disadvantage compared to other nations who could be present in person. The boycott, therefore, was presented as an act of resistance against what Iran saw as discriminatory treatment rather than a mere symbolic gesture. The United States maintained that visa decisions are made based on national security policies. But critics from multiple countries questioned whether the U.S. should have created special diplomatic channels to ensure equal access for all nations participating in a global tournament. Many analysts brought up historical precedent, noting that host nations typically work closely with event organizers to guarantee participation from every qualifying team, regardless of political alignment. This has occurred during Olympic Games, international conferences, and earlier World Cup cycles. Some observers argued that by failing to facilitate Iran's attendance, the U.S. may have inadvertently politicized the event, giving ammunition to critics who believe that sports and politics are inseparable. The situation raised broader concerns within FIFA. As the world's governing body of football, FIFA has long claimed that its events are politically neutral, promoting the idea that sport can transcend political conflict. However, the Iranian boycott forced FIFA to confront the limitations of that philosophy. For many fans, especially those in countries that value fairness and transparency, the idea that a participating nation could be absent due to geopolitical restrictions felt deeply unsettling. It created the perception that global sports organizations must rethink how they operate in a divided world. Should FIFA demand stronger guarantees from host nations? Should there be centralized mechanisms to ensure participation regardless of politics? These questions became central to discussions following the announcement, and they will continue to shape how future tournaments are organized. What made the incident even more compelling was the reaction among football fans around the world. Many expressed sympathy for Iran, arguing that sports should never be used as a tool to punish or marginalize a country. Others felt that the United States had the right to apply its visa policies uniformly. But most importantly, the debate revealed how deeply connected people feel to international events like the World Cup. Fans want fairness. They want spirit. They want the game to remain bigger than political differences. The controversy amplified the sentiment that if global sports organizations truly believe in neutrality, they must be prepared to take active steps to enforce it. For Iran, the boycott was a powerful statement. It signaled that they would not accept perceived injustice in silence. It also exposed how diplomatic friction can affect the morale and confidence of teams preparing for tournaments. Football players often express that participation in international ceremonies helps build excitement and psychological readiness. Being excluded from such rituals can dampen the spirit of the team and its supporters. Iran's stance therefore resonated strongly across football communities who understand that global tournaments are built on traditions, rituals, and shared experiences, not only on scheduled matches. As the controversy unfolded, many commentators emphasized that the story must be viewed in a global context. Sports diplomacy has long been used to create bridges between nations. The World Cup is one of the few events that bring together people from almost every country. It is a celebration of diversity, unity, and collective enthusiasm. When political tensions disrupt such events, the world is reminded of how fragile international cooperation can be. Iran's boycott highlighted the need to protect sports from political interference and to ensure that organizations like FIFA establish more robust systems for dealing with host nations so that all teams, regardless of nationality, can participate equally. The boycott by Iran triggered a wave of global reactions, prompting analysts, fans, and officials to reflect more deeply on the broader meaning and consequences of this diplomatic standoff. Many argued that the episode was another reminder that geopolitical tensions are increasingly shaping the landscape of international sports. For decades, major global events such as the World Cup have prided themselves on offering nations a neutral stage. But in a world where diplomatic disagreements have grown sharper, the question of whether true neutrality is still possible has become more complex. The incident also led to heated debates regarding the responsibilities of the host country. When the United States was chosen as the venue for the draw ceremony, supporters assumed that it would follow international sporting protocols and ensure inclusion for all competing nations. Critics argued that by failing to issue visas to Iranian officials, the U.S. contradicted the ethos of international sports cooperation. Others contended that no host nation should be forced to alter its national security policies, even for major events. This clash of perspectives reflected a deeper tension between national sovereignty and global collaboration. From Iran's side, officials framed the situation as an issue of respect. They expressed disappointment not only in the United States but also in FIFA, which, in their view, should have intervened more forcefully to guarantee their presence. Iran emphasized that participating in the draw is a fundamental right earned by qualifying through rigorous matches. When that right is compromised due to political disagreements, the spirit of competition is weakened. For many in the football world, this argument resonated strongly. Participation must feel equal. The process must be transparent. The integrity of global tournaments requires that every team stands on the same footing. International reactions expanded quickly, with commentators from Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East offering their perspectives. Some expressed concern that if visa-related problems become normalized, future World Cups could face greater instability. For instance, if a nation with tense diplomatic relations with the host country qualifies for the tournament, will similar problems arise again? Could this lead to a world where countries intentionally avoid hosting events due to geopolitical complications? These concerns further highlighted the need for FIFA to strengthen guidelines and create more adaptable frameworks for future events. The boycott also had emotional consequences. Iranian fans expressed frustration that their country's representatives were denied the opportunity to stand on equal ground with other nations during the ceremonial event. The World Cup draw is more than a formal announcement. It sets the tone for the tournament, marks the beginning of intense national excitement, and provides fans with their first real glimpse of what the competition will look like. For Iran's supporters, missing this moment felt like a symbolic exclusion from the global football community. Many took to social media to demand reforms that would protect teams from such diplomatic obstacles in the future. Meanwhile, football analysts noted that Iran's boycott could influence how other nations respond to similar situations in the years ahead. If teams feel that they can protest perceived injustices without facing significant penalties, more national football associations might adopt similar stances. This could potentially create a more vocal environment around decisions made by host countries and international sporting bodies. While some believe this trend could push FIFA to increase its accountability, others fear it might lead to new tensions and disruptions in global tournaments. That on the sporting side, coaches and strategists pointed out that lack of representation at the draw is more than symbolic. It can have logistical consequences. Teams often begin analyzing their opponents as soon as the group allocations are announced. Officials who attend in person can immediately gather insights, discuss arrangements, and build communication channels with FIFA representatives. When a team is not physically present, it may receive information later and lack the same opportunities for immediate engagement. Although Iran would still be informed of its group placement, The absence of their officials at the ceremony could affect the efficiency of their preparation. The situation also put pressure on FIFA. While FIFA did not directly deny the visas, critics insisted that it must take greater responsibility to ensure that all participating countries can engage fully. Many suggested that FIFA should negotiate agreements with host countries before any event to guarantee access for all official representatives. Others proposed that FIFA create neutral intermediary spaces in cases where political barriers prevent attendance. The Iranian boycott ultimately served as an important reminder of the delicate balance between global sports and political realities. Events like the World Cup depend on unity, neutrality, and equal treatment. When political tensions interfere, the essence of international sporting festivals is weakened. The global response to Iran's decision demonstrated that fans want reforms. They want fair treatment. They want the spirit of global football to remain pure, welcoming, and free from political exclusion. The incident encouraged deeper discussions about how the global sports community can adapt and create a future where teams are not hindered by diplomatic conflicts. In the aftermath of Iran's boycott, a broader global conversation emerged about the future of mega sporting events and what must change to ensure that similar problems do not arise again. Analysts pointed out that this incident should serve as a wake-up call for FIFA and other international bodies. To preserve fairness, governing organizations must anticipate geopolitical challenges long before hosting decisions are finalized. One of the most widely discussed proposals was the introduction of mandatory diplomatic guarantees. Under this system, any country bidding to host a major event would need to provide assurance that it will facilitate visas for every participating nation's officials, athletes, and support staff. These guarantees would include streamlined processes, special diplomatic channels, or temporary agreements independent of standard political disputes. Advocates of this approach believe that without such measures, sports cannot truly claim neutrality. Critics argue that such guarantees may conflict with national security policies, but supporters counter that exceptional events require exceptional agreements. Additionally, some commentators suggested that FIFA should create backup mechanisms in case the host country's visa system fails. For example, if representatives cannot attend in person, FIFA could organize official remote participation systems with equal authority and visibility. However, many purists argue that remote attendance cannot replace the sense of presence at a historic event like the World Cup draw. Being physically present contributes to the emotion, legitimacy, and shared excitement that define global sporting culture. Within Iran, the boycott became a point of national debate. Some citizens supported the decision, viewing it as a necessary response to perceived disrespect. Others worried that the boycott might harm Iran's image in international football or reduce their influence within FIFA. Despite these differing opinions, one point united Iranian fans: the desire for equal treatment and recognition on the world stage. Football is more than a sport in Iran. It is a powerful cultural force that connects communities, inspires youth, and fosters national pride. The incident also highlighted the increasingly complicated relationship between international sports organizations and host governments. In past decades, global events were often awarded based on infrastructure, enthusiasm, and organizational ability. Today, political stability and diplomatic climate have become equally important. Countries with strained diplomatic relationships may face challenges in securing hosting rights or ensuring smooth participation. This shift has encouraged organizations like FIFA to rethink their criteria and consider new strategies for selecting host cities and managing international participation. What makes the Iran-US visa dispute especially noteworthy is the timing. At a moment when global tensions are rising and international cooperation is more fragile than ever, sports have become one of the few remaining spaces where nations can gather peacefully. The World Cup is more than a competition. It is a global celebration that brings together diverse cultures, languages, and traditions. When access to such an event becomes politicized, the symbolic power of the tournament is weakened. The controversy has inspired many fans and analysts to advocate for a renewed commitment to sports diplomacy. They emphasize that sports can serve as a bridge, bringing nations closer even when political differences seem insurmountable. Sporting events have historically been platforms for dialogue, cooperation, and reconciliation. If global organizations fail to protect that role, They risk losing an important tool for promoting peace and understanding as discussions continue. The long-term impact of Iran's decision remains uncertain. Some believe the boycott will pressure FIFA to adopt new regulations. Others fear it will set a precedent for politically motivated absences from future events. Yet, most analysts agree that the incident will remain a reference point in future debates about fairness, diplomacy, and access in international sports in the broader context. The Iran boycott highlights an essential truth. Global sports cannot exist in isolation from the political world. However, they can strive to rise above it. Incidents like this challenge the global community to reaffirm its commitment to fairness, inclusion, and mutual respect. Fans across the world share a common desire to see their teams treated with dignity and given equal opportunities to participate fully in every aspect of international competition. The World Cup is a symbol of unity, passion, and shared humanity. The controversy involving Iran, the United States, and the visa refusal is a reminder of how delicate that unity